we think the Keystone State and the whole idea of the Keystone being associated with Stonehenge, right, is because when you study the ley line grid of the earth, there's a very important ley line that runs from Stonehenge in the British Isles to Tijuana, Mexico, right? And all of the cities, all of the major cities in what we would call the Northeast Corridor, going from Boston through about Richmond, Virginia, Philadelphia being, the major one within Pennsylvania. All of those cities rest on that ley line. Charlotte, North Carolina, Atlanta, Mobile, Alabama. These are other major cities that are on this ley line, right? Here's Ellicott City in Maryland, of course, Washington, D.C., Fredericksburg in Virginia, New Brunswick and Trenton in Jersey, Wilmington and Newark in Delaware. Plus, like I said, there's also many cities south in North Carolina. Here's a list of them. Augusta, Columbia, South Carolina, Macon, Georgia, Columbus, Georgia. Okay, so this is this Stonehenge Tijuana ley line, right? It's one of the most occupied and manipulated ley lines on the Earth grid, right? When you go to the cities that are on this ley line, when you study the art, architecture, archetype symbols that are in those cities, it's all about taking over the world, And Philadelphia is the classic example of it. Philadelphia has more public art than any other city in the world other than Paris, France. Over 5,000 pieces of registered public art. And when you decode it, what they're telling you in the public art of Philadelphia, if someone was to stand up and tell you in English, you would resist it because it's a diabolical intention. But because they tell you in public art, first we got to even choose to pay attention. You know what I mean? And then once we decide, okay, now we're going to pay attention, we then have to really research the language of the muses to understand what it is we're looking at. This is that whole phenomenon hidden in plain sight, right? So a lot of that is played out on this ley line right here, And like I said, Philadelphia is a very important city on this Stonehenge Tijuana ley line. It's legend that 6 major ley lines converge in Philadelphia, right? I hope y'all can see these graphics because it does help let you kind of visualize what I'm speaking about, right? But the tradition says this point right here in Philadelphia, which is the Commodore Barry statue, which is in a courtyard behind Independence Hall at 6th and Walnut, right? That 6 major ley lines converge right here. And here's Independence Hall. Of course, this is where the nation was birthed, right? So that would kind of follow that it would be such an energetically, that's like, again, if we take the analogy of ley lines into the planet as chi meridians are to our body, right? Philadelphia would be a major point. If you activate that specific point, you're having a system reset, right? So this is kind of what we envision that 6 ley line grid looking like within the confines of Philadelphia, right? And this is the aerial view of that courtyard at Independence Hall. It even looks like a convergence point. I hope you're able to see it in spite of the light that we have out of here, light that we're working with. But it seems like there are major mounds in Philadelphia, right? We would say Philadelphia is a Cincinnati, a city of 7 hills, and that there's 7 significant high points in Philadelphia. And if you connect these mounds to Independence Hall, it seems to define the ley line network within the city, right? And again, here's a map of it. Again, all of this you can find in those 2 books that I mentioned if you want to get deeper into this. But as we said, one of the important ley lines that runs through Philly is the Stonehenge, Teotihuacan ley line, okay? And there are several other east, west, and north traversing ley lines. Well, 5 exactly. I said several, but 5 that intersect this. This is the Stonehenge Teotihuacan ley line here. Then you see there's others pointing north and west of the city, right? How do those ley lines spread throughout the state of Pennsylvania? That's a question we've been attempting to answer. And what does this have to do with this idea of Pennsylvania being the keystone state on this Stonehenge ley line? Is there a connection? And I know I keep mentioning it, but because I will point this out. I'm sure most of y'all have heard of the Philadelphia experiment, the military experiment that occurred August 12th, 1943. It seemed to kind of either intentionally or not, but kind of usher in this age of using technology to manipulate timelines, right? Manipulate the fabric of space-time, right? It is legend that at the exact time the Philadelphia experiment was occurring, there were a group of mystics at Stonehenge in England, particularly Aleister Crowley and like his crew, and they were engaging in something. So that always put it in my mind like, man, there's something about Stonehenge and the keystone. Both a hinge and a key are tools to open a door, open a portal, right? And so, again, this is why we're asking these questions, right? Is there some connection here, right? So, one way we can identify those ley lines is the alignment of cities. We saw that on that Stonehenge Teotihuacan ley line, it was just marked with cities, right? So let's look at Pennsylvania and see if we see alignments of cities, and maybe that'll show us where some of those other ley lines that we saw were going west and north in the state, where they might be flowing, right? So here's Philadelphia, right? Here's that Stonehenge Teotihuacan ley line. If we check it, here's another possible ley line defined by an alignment of Philadelphia, Kutztown, and Scranton, okay? This might define another of those ley lines, the Philadelphia, or maybe this is, I got it wrong. This is Philadelphia, Bethlehem, and Scranton. Here is Philadelphia, Kutztown, and Bloomsburg, okay? And this third ley line running this way may be defined by an alignment of Philadelphia, Ephrata, and Harrisburg, okay? So, Scranton, Bloomsburg, and Harrisburg. Scranton, Bloomsburg, Harrisburg. This may be where these ley lines are intersecting the Susquehanna River, okay? All of these cities are on the Susquehanna. Bethlehem may be where this ley line intersects the Lehigh River. Kutztown is where this ley line intersects the Ontelawney Creek, and Ephrata is where this ley line intersects the Calcoca Creek, okay? So, this is what we would say, like, this might be what gives the geomantic meaning to the placement of these cities. Why are the cities where they are? They could be anywhere, right? And why are these cities appearing to make an alignment, right? Looking at it from this lens says, okay, maybe they put these cities on these ley lines, these magnetic meridians of the earth, right? To tap that energy. But of course, they're going to want to put the cities on some running water, some moving water. Maybe a place where there's a confluence of water, two or more creeks or rivers coming together. You know, like Philadelphia is where the Delaware and the Schuylkill come together. You know, Schuylkill rivers. And usually you'll find several of these features in the placement of cities, right? So it also gives geomantic meaning to another place we've yet to talk about, but I think is relevant to here and relevant to this whole discussion, and that is PA Stonehenge. So Pennsylvania does have what's called a PA Stonehenge, a megalithic park with, you know, giant stone structures that are reminiscent of Stonehenge, okay? That's kind of to the north and the east of Bethlehem and Kutztown, right? And if we plot that, look at this, almost a perfect pentagram is created with the other points that we've been talking about with these ley lines, right? And if we make that almost perfect pentagram, look at where we are in that. Stonehenge Gardens. It's almost like you're centered within the entire configuration. And you can almost make a east-west split. If you draw a straight line from Scranton to Ephrata, it dissects the pentagram almost perfectly and runs right through Stonehenge Gardens, right through where we are, right? So I don't think these, like when you see alignments like that, it's hard to say it's coincidental, right? It is more synchronistic, and it does reaffirm like, yo, there's something up with this idea of a Stonehenge, right? It would be good to hear the history and intention of the ones that founded here. What was y'all inspiration, you know? And I know it's actually, I saw it was technically Stonehedge, not Stonehenge. Am I right? It's Stonehedge Gardens, right? So it's a play on Stonehenge, but same way it's that idea, you know? So here is some images of PA Stonehenge I was telling you about. It's called Columcille State Park. What is it? Comsile. Thank you so much. I've yet to go there, right? It's on my bucket list, right? But what you say? It's not that far. And when you say not that far from here, how close is it?
Maybe from here, like an
hour and a half. Oh, right. Okay. It's worth the drive, all right? How many people else have heard of this state park? All right, give thanks. So here's some examples of the megalithic stone works you find there. And again, it raises the question, is PA a keystone that opens the Stonehenge ley line, you know? I think we're ready for some questions. I wasn't gonna, so again, this is the alignment that I think is really significant, you know, nothing to just say, oh, it's coincidental. I think it does give us a good idea of where, if we said 6 ley lines intersect in Philadelphia, right? And we know one is coming from New York and then going through Wilmington. We can easily define that trajectory. Where's the trajectory of the other ones, right? I think this gives us good insight. And we see there's this theme of Stonehenge geomantically imprinted in it, and this land is a part of that, right? Let's say you just wanted to draw a straight line from Philly to Stonehenge Gardens or PA Stonehenge. You don't really see an alignment with any of the cities we were looking at, right? Just playing around. Sometimes it's good to just play around and see what other alignments you may see, right? The color doesn't come through too well with this light, but Harrisburg, Pine Grove, and Stonehenge Gardens has an alignment, right? And Lancaster, Coopersburg, and PA Stonehenge. Philly, Doylestown, Easton, PA Stonehenge, a little bit, right? It's not like a direct hit, but, and if anybody has ever been in Doylestown, PA, it's a very mystical place. And like it's kind of the lore of Doylestown. They know they got ley lines. It's a small place with big ley lines, you know? And they kind of, you know, they boast on the energy that you can experience living in that community. And so let's open it up to questions and discussion, because hopefully I've inspired ones to remember something they've experienced or researched, and that would really help give us more clarity about this area. I saw your hand. Yes.
I was curious about, well, for one thing, that is really interesting about the convergence of and being there, just how beautiful it feels. So, have you been to Doylestown? I just wondered if you went to one of these places where the ley lines are.
I have been to Doylestown, yes.
Again, you have, like, in other words, you have to spend a lot of time there, just being there.
No, I think when you pass through there, you'll be like, because it doesn't really even add up what you're like the grounding you're feeling, and the, like, yeah, you're real comfortable, but why? You know, Doylestown, it's, you know, I'm not coming at it, but it's a real plain place, plain looking place, and it's small. You know, it's big energy for a small place, you know? Yes. Yes, sis.
So, for these places where, like, there's a lot of convergence of energy, so do you think, like, having gatherings at those places to try and, like, have focused energy to try and switch up the narrative that they try to instill
That's what we're supposed to be doing, yeah. Yeah, my book, why it's called Free Your Mind and Your Mind Will Follow. That's the whole idea. If you go to these sacred places, have events like this because where they like that 100th monkey effect, right? So each one of us here is in what they would say resonant affinity, like vibration, with about 12,000 people on the planet, right? So there's 12,000 people, whatever they thinking and feeling and dealing, because you're like vibration. Y'all are in like frequency. Y'all are gonna mutually influence one another, right? So if you're not keeping your frequency high, you're gonna be one of the ones being affected. If you're one of the ones coming to the energy spots, activating your being, learning, sharing, healing, releasing trauma, then now you're influencing the others, So when we come together and on grid, right? You on grid, you're somewhere where the ley lines are converging and you're doing high frequency things. Yes, it changes yourself, it changes the planet, it changes the collective, So that is the idea of how would you proactively use this information? So what? There's an alignment of the cities. What does it mean? It's a way to, and there are other levels I've left out in studying the indigenous relationship to the land, burial mounds. That's a big part of the equation too, right? But because that tells us where, if you come together at that place, right? Might be a mystical time. You look where the moon is, and it's like, yo, this is the time to be activating, right? Yeah, that's a good way to change your reality mystically, using the forces of creation. Yes. Say that again?
How can we do research for the ley lines in our own?
That's a great question. That's a great question. I would start with Google Earth, right? All of these images that I was working with, I would just playing on Google Earth, right? And you could do it on a city scale or a community scale, and then broaden the scope to state and then national, and then don't reinvent the wheel. There are communities online of folk who attempt to chart the ley line grid of their area, chart global or national lines, grids, right? And there are books on it, so research.
Yeah, this is very exciting. So when you, I just have one more question before I'm not so long.
No, you're all right.
So when you got these lines, you just looked at the map with the cities and you're like, oh, let me draw a line here, and then you just started doing this drawing and you figured out the pattern.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. Yeah, it's just that simple. Play with it, And more often than not, if you're in tune with the area where you live, you're going to have an idea of where the energy spots are anyway, right? So connect them and play with it. We did this recently with the Pittsburgh community. He's a brother here. He's shown, from when we linked with him and began decoding Pittsburgh in April, right? The brother Riley, what he has today, from that point, he's just been continuing. And yeah, he's whittled about 5-7 more layers of depth to what we started in April. So I'm saying that to say, build a community, find like-minded ones where you live, and build community around this, and collectively, y'all will probably decipher a lot.
Very,
All right.
About that now, there's a lot of possibilities to like connect with friends.
Where are
Or
you?
like, I'm in Richmond, Virginia.
Well, I used Richmond as a case study in Free Your Mind and Your Mind Will Follow. I decoded 3 cities: Philadelphia, Washington, D.C., and Richmond, Virginia.
Oh, very cool.
And so I already got a good head start for you. All right? It might not be the finish, but it's a great start.
No, that's exciting. Just to think about, like, I've been wanting to buy a house and just thinking about, like, or making a center and finding.
In Richmond,
Yeah.
in Richmond,
Yeah, and like, making this, but finding a place that where there's lines across your coast as possible to actually do that.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I got you.
Think about it.
I got you. Yes.
Yeah. Well, I've been connected with this land for over 40 years, and this is blowing my mind, actually. So, yeah, and over those 40 years, many times people would say, I thought you were column seals. They would show up here and think we were there. And I recently talked to people at column seals and said, yeah, people come here saying, is this Stonehedge Gardens? You know,
Can I be honest?
yeah.
I thought this event was happening at Column C. When I started this, right, because I'd already heard of PA Stonehenge, I didn't know there was a separate Stonehenge Gardens, right? So I was like, oh man, this is so mystic. The brothers having the thing right there where I've always wanted to go. And then when I realized, oh, that's 2 different locations. But then I knew that was like, that was even more significant, you know? And so I looked at it from that angle. Yes.
I think it's also significant because the intention with the space is exactly what you're talking about, to try and bring people in to connect with each other in nature, and just the land itself like tends to be a lighthouse that draws that in.
Well, that was like, right, it would be good to hear the Stonehenge Garden evolution after hearing this. You know what I mean? Like, what thoughts, what intentions, why was this land chosen? How does all of that express itself, you know? It would be interesting to hear. Maybe that'll be for next year, you know? Yeah. And right, hopefully this has inspired many to do this type of research. And right, there'll even be deeper insights ones come to share next year, you know? How's my time? They told me, like, Ross, don't get up there and get spun out. 5:34? Yeah, I'm half hour over. I think I should pass it on, pass the mic. But hour and 7 minutes, column seal. So, yeah. So, hey, thank you for letting me share. And I hope it was clear and relevant for you. Because I was even thinking, like, man, I ain't talking about no mushrooms. You know, I was trying to think, like, how does this relate with mushrooms? Like, maybe you have to take a lot of mushrooms to relate to this, you know? I don't know, but no, y'all been very gracious. Thank you, and yes.